London, 1840. The air is heavy, wet, and tastes like copper and rot. You're standing in the Fleet sewer, deep beneath the cobblestones of Victorian London. The darkness is absolute, broken only by the sputtering yellow light of a tallow lantern held by a man waist deep in a slurry of human filth. He is not a city engineer. He is not a sanitation worker. He is a hunter. He wears a heavy wool coat, stiff and shiny, coated in layers of dried grease to keep the water out and the rat's teeth from finding his skin. He holds a 7-foot pole tipped with an iron hoe. He's feeling the bottom of the channel, probing the muck. He's looking for tog, copper coins, silver spoons, dropped pocket watches, scrap iron, pieces of coal, anything the wealthy world above flushed down and forgot. This man is a tosher. He is the original bottom feeder of industrial capitalism. He risks cholera, suffocation by methane pockets, and being swept away by a sudden storm surge for a handful of shillings. He is a scavenger in the bowels of the empire. And here's the thing that should make you angry. He was often making more money than the factory worker grinding his life away in the fresh air above. Cut to the present day. The tallow lanterns are gone, replaced by high-lumen, explosion-proof LED floodlights. The wool coats are now Tyvek hazmat suits taped at the wrists and ankles. The iron hose are now high-pressure water jets and robotic cutters. But the principle? The principle is exactly the same. We like to tell ourselves that civilization is clean. We like to think that when we push the handle on the porcelain throne, the waste goes to some magical sterile facility where it vanishes. We are liars. Beneath the pavement of every major city on Earth, London, New York, Tokyo, a war is being fought. It is a silent, greasy, toxic war between engineering and gluttony. And the enemy isn't just waste anymore. It has evolved. It has calcified. It has grown into a multi-million-dollar monster that we feed daily with every flush and every fry-up. This is the Fatberg. And just like the Victorian tosher, there is now an entire shadow economy built around hunting, fighting, and selling this subterranean horror. You need to understand the scale of the beast before you can understand the money. Imagine a Boeing 747. Now imagine it made entirely of congealed lard, wet wipes, and concrete. That is what lies beneath Whitechapel, London. 130 tons of refusal. It is longer than Tower Bridge. It is hard as rock. This isn't just grease. If it were just grease, it would float. It would move. This is a geological formation. It is a monument to our consumption. It starts with a single restaurant pouring hot fryer oil down the sink because the manager is too cheap to call the grease trap service. The oil is liquid. It feels innocent. It slips down the pipe, hot and free. But the moment it hits the cold sewer water, 55 degrees, murky, turbulent, it goes into thermal shock. It solidifies. It clings to the ceiling of the pipe like a bat. Then comes the accomplice, the flushable wipe, the greatest lie ever told by a marketing department. You buy them because they promise hygiene. You flush them because the package says you can. But down here in the dark, they do not disintegrate. They are made of polyester. They are plastic. They snag on the rough brickwork of the Victorian tunnels. They catch on the cooling grease. And then chemistry takes over. A process called saponification occurs. The free fatty acids in the rancid grease react with the calcium in the concrete of the sewer walls. It is literally making soap. Hard, insoluble, rock-like soap. The wipes act as rebar. The grease acts as cement. The calcium binds it all together. Layer by layer, day by day, it grows. It absorbs condoms, hypodermic needles, dental floss, tampon applicators, and grit. It becomes a composite material stronger than the pipe that holds it. This is where the economy begins to turn perverse. In a rational world, the cost of this would be borne by the people causing it. The restaurant dumping the oil, the manufacturer selling the plastic wipe. But the sewer is the ultimate commons. It is the tragedy of the commons played out in human waste. You cannot fingerprint a blob of grease. You cannot DNA test a rotting wet wipe. So the cost is socialized. It lands on the utility company, which means it lands on the taxpayer. Thames Water spends over £1 million a month fighting these blockages. New York City spends nearly $20 million a year. That is your money. That is public infrastructure funding being incinerated to clean up the private negligence of fast food chains and consumer goods corporations. It is the perfect arbitrage of filth. Let's talk about the labor, because someone has to go down there. The technology exists to blast these things, but often the Fatberg is so hard and the Victorian brickwork so fragile that machines can't do it. You need men. You need the modern toshers. These are the sewer flushers. They are the special forces of sanitation. Picture the environment. It is a confined space. The air is monitored constantly for hydrogen sulfide, sewer gas. One deep breath of high concentration H2S knocks you out. 2 breaths kill you. The methane levels are high enough that a single spark from a shovel hitting a brick could turn the tunnel into a flamethrower. The temperature is sweltering, often reaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit, because the decomposing fat is generating its own heat. It is a living, rotting organism. The men wade in. The sludge is up to their thighs. They are carrying pickaxes, shovels, and crowbars. They are literally mining the fat. They hack at the wall. It doesn't squish, it cracks. It makes a wet, tearing sound, like ripping apart a massive, diseased muscle. The smell is indescribable. It is a physical weight that presses against the mask. It smells of rancid meat, chemical cleaners, vomit, and metallic decay. They break off chunks the size of microwaves. They hand them back, bucket by bucket, chain gang style, to a winch that hauls them to the surface. It is medieval torture, reimagined as municipal maintenance. And for this, they earn a living wage, but they don't get rich. The real money isn't in the removal. The real money is in what happens next. Capitalism, in its infinite amoral wisdom, hates waste. It hates leaving value on the table, even if that table is a sewer pipe. So, the Fatberg economy pivots. It decides that if we have to spend millions digging this toxic sludge out of the ground, we might as well sell it. We are now seeing the industrialization of yellow grease. The chunks of Fatberg, the gray, screamingly toxic sludge hauled up from the depths, are loaded into sealed tanker trucks. They are driven to specialized processing plants. These aren't just dumps, they are refineries. Inside these plants, the Fatberg is melted down. It is heated in massive boilers until it turns back into a liquid. They run it through centrifuges to spin up the solids. The condoms, the needles, the plastic wrappers, the grit. They separate the water. And what is left? Oil. Dark, rancid, energy-dense oil. They treat it chemically, they refine it, and they turn it into biodiesel. That's right. The red double-decker bus driving past you on Oxford Street, the delivery truck dropping off your Amazon package, there is a non-zero chance that its engine is firing on fuel made from the congealed failures of the city's digestive tract. It is pitched as green energy. It is pitched as the ultimate circular economy. But look closer at the incentive structure. We have created a system where the cleanup of our own excess generates GDP. The extraction of the filth is counted as economic growth. The burning of the waste is counted as renewable energy. If we actually solved the problem, if restaurants stopped dumping grease and people stopped flushing wipes, this entire secondary industry would collapse. The biofuel refineries need the feedstock. The sewer robotics companies need the contracts. The specialized hazardous waste trucking firms need the haulage. We have built an ecosystem that feeds on the dysfunction. We are burning our own gluttony to power the logistics network that delivers us more food to be gluttonous with. It is a snake eating its own tail, and the tail is covered in shit. This demand for waste oil has birthed a crime wave, a literal black market for grease. Because biodiesel mandates have driven up the price of used cooking oil, yellow grease is now trading like a commodity. It is liquid gold. In the dead of night, in back alleys behind Burger Kings and KFCs from Los Angeles to London, the grease pirates strike. These are not teenagers pranking a store. These are organized criminal gangs. They drive unmarked box trucks fitted with stolen pumps and hidden tanks. They pull up to the grease recycling bins, the ones legitimate renderers pay to collect. They cut the locks with bolt cutters. They insert a hose. In 5 minutes, they suck out $1,000 worth of oil. This is a $40 million a year theft industry in the United States alone. It has gotten so bad that grease rendering companies are hiring private investigators to stake out dumpsters. They are installing GPS trackers in the grease barrels. There have been high-speed chases involving tankers full of rancid fryer oil. There have been turf wars where rival grease gangs slash tires and smash windshields. Why? Because the margins are insane. The thief has zero overhead. He steals the oil for free and sells it to a shady biodiesel refiner for cash, no questions asked. The refiner processes it and sells it into the legitimate fuel market, pocketing the government subsidies meant for green energy. It is money laundering, but the currency is cholesterol. And while the thieves are stealing the grease above ground, the lawyers are fighting a different war in the courtrooms. The flushable wipe lawsuit industry is booming. This is the white-collar side of the Fatberg economy. Cities are tired of paying the cleanup costs. They are suing the manufacturers, giants like Kimberly-Clark and Procter & Gamble. The argument is semantic but expensive. The cities say flushable implies that the object breaks down and causes no harm. The manufacturers say flushable simply means it is capable of passing through the S-bend of a toilet. They are technically correct. A golf ball is flushable if you push hard enough, but a golf ball doesn't cost the City of London £18 million a year. In 2024, settlements started landing. Millions of dollars changing hands. But notice where the money goes. It goes to legal fees. It goes to municipal general funds. Does it go to upgrading the Victorian sewers? Rarely. Does it go to banning the wipes? No. The wipes are still on the shelves. The Do Not Flush logo is just made slightly larger, hidden on the back of the package near the barcode. The industry creates a standard for flushability that they themselves regulate. It is a theater of compliance. The lawyers get paid. The city gets a settlement. The manufacturer keeps selling, and the Fatberg keeps growing. Now, look at the technology sector. The Fatberg has become a darling of the industrial tech world. We are moving past men with shovels. We are entering the age of the sewer drone. Venture capital is flowing into startups that build ruggedized, waterproof robots that crawl through pipes like mechanical cockroaches. They carry high-definition cameras, LiDAR scanners, and sonar. They map the sewers in 3D. They use artificial intelligence to analyze the flow rates, listening to the sound of the water to predict where a blockage is forming before it breaches. We are applying the same technology used to explore the surface of Mars to explore the insides of our own waste pipes. Think about the absurdity of that allocation of capital. We have the smartest engineers from MIT and Cambridge designing AI to recognize the visual signature of a congealed grease ball. We have predictive maintenance algorithms running on cloud servers, burning electricity, to tell a utility company that a kebab shop in Birmingham is dumping too much oil. It is the ultimate technological solutionism. We refuse to change our behavior. We refuse to stop being wasteful. So we invent sci-fi robots to manage the consequences of that waste. It is brilliant engineering applied to the stupidest possible problem. And what happens when they find the Fatberg? They don't just hack it anymore. They are developing bio-augmentation. They are genetically engineering bacteria to eat the fat. They are pouring drums of specialized enzymes into the sewers to soften the monster so it flows again. This is the new frontier, biological warfare against our own excrement. Companies pitch these solutions to city councils with glossy brochures. Don't dig, they say. Dissolve. It costs millions. It's a recurring revenue subscription model for the city. You don't just buy the bacteria once, you have to keep dosing the pipes forever. Because the grease never stops coming, the flow is infinite. There's a museum in London, the Museum of London, that put a slice of the Whitechapel Fatberg on display. They dried it out. They put it in a glass case. People lined up to see it. They merchandised it. You could buy Fatberg fudge. You could buy t-shirts. It became a cultural icon. This is the peak of the absurdity. We are staring at our own filth in a glass box and treating it like an artifact. But it is an artifact. It is the defining artifact of our time. Future archaeologists, if they dig us up, won't judge us by our iPhones or our skyscrapers. They will judge us by the layer of plastic-infused, concrete-hard grease that lines the arteries of our cities. The Fatberg is a mirror. It is the physical manifestation of our collective economic psyche. We want consumption without consequence. We want the convenience of the wipe and the taste of the fry, but we don't want to think about where it goes. We built a civilization on the promise that when we flush, it goes away. But there is no away. There's only down. And down there it collects, it organizes, it hardens, it waits. The Victorian tosher hunted for lost gold in the muck because he was desperate. We have managed to turn the muck itself into gold because we are greedy. We have financialized the filth. As you watch the footage of that sewer robot tearing into the gray wall of fat, remember, that isn't just waste, that is a receipt. That is the accumulated cost of a society that thinks it can consume forever and never pay the bill. But the bill is here. It is blocking the pipe. The pressure is rising. The water is backing up. And the smell? That isn't just sewage. That is the scent of liquidity. That is the smell of an economy that will monetize its own destruction until the very moment the pipe bursts. Every time you see a green energy bus, think of the men in the dark, sweating in Tyvek suits, hacking at the saponified consequences of your lunch. Think of the grease thieves siphoning value from the dumpster. Think of the lawyers arguing over the definition of flushable. It is a perfect, closed loop of insanity. The Fatberg is not a glitch in the system. The Fatberg is the system. It is the product, and business is booming.